Hey guys, it's the Villaman here, home theater enthusiast and all-around tech lover. Now, some of you may have seen my OLED versus QLED comparison video. Who am I even kidding? It's my most popular video, you probably all saw it. But anyways, based on some of the comments and questions I received since then, it's clear that some people weren't sure how to exactly interpret what they were seeing. So I thought I'd make this video to go over what I was seeing in person, to do some further analysis on what is being shown, and to explain my rationale behind choosing certain scenes. But first, a public service announcement. If you like tech and home theater audio video, then you've come to the right place because this is where I'll be unboxing and reviewing the hottest products, along with tips and tricks to help you learn more. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's explore this hobby together. You ready? Let's get to it. Now both TVs are connected to an Apple TV 4K via a Denon X4300H receiver. And because of this, they receive the exact same signal from the Apple TV 4K. So as a result of this, any picture differences you see will be a result of the TVs themselves. Both TVs are in their standard picture settings. Now before I get into the actual comparison, I need to make one thing abundantly clear. Now it's not possible for the camera to capture the full dynamic range of both these TVs. So the full breadth of the shadows and highlights of the picture will not be able to be properly conveyed over the video. Just note that in many scenes where the highlights seem overblown or the shadows lack detail, in person you can often make these out. The first picture enhancement we'll be testing is the contrast enhancer on the Samsung. Now this has a low, medium and high setting, but we'll be testing the low and the high settings. It does exactly what it implies. It enhances the contrast to make it more comparable to technologies like OLED. Because the Samsung is brighter, it makes the LG looks comparatively darker in pretty much every respect. But in person you can actually make out these details in the shadows. That said, the standard picture settings on the LG does have some black crush, but this can be adjusted in the gamma settings. Now contrast enhancer definitely makes the picture pop more, but you do this at the cost of some black detail, so you may be sacrificing some details in the shadows. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, highlights that may seem overblown in the video are actually clear in person, like this scene on the Samsung. In this scene of Planet Earth 2, you can actually see the differences in contrast performance between both TVs when the contrast enhancement is disabled on the Samsung. The Samsung also definitely has a more pleasing default picture than the LG, which is a lot cooler by default. You can adjust both TVs' color temperature to your preference though. I found it very interesting though that even though the Samsung has a lower response rate, the picture is ever so slightly behind the LG. And since both TVs are getting the same signal, this is a result of the TV's processing. Game mode for the Samsung is full featured. It even has motion enhancement. Granted, I disabled it for this demo because I didn't like the artifacts it created, but it's there if you need it. The motion handling was smooth on both TVs, and with the black frame insertion on the LG, it made it better than previous years. That said, the shadow detail in game mode on the LG was very disappointing. It had a lot of black crush, even though the camera exaggerates the difference between both TVs in this comparison. The Samsung was still notably better. But what the LG lacked in shadow detail, it made up for in color saturation and contrast. I like using this scene in Batman v Superman to test black level performance. It has a lot of shadows, a lot of highlights, and midtones to round it out. Both TVs perform pretty well here, but predictably, the black levels on the LG is lower than that on the Samsung. But conversely, the Samsung has more shadow detail. The same is also true for the scene in Blade Runner 2049. But in this clip, I didn't lock the exposure to the brighter Samsung TV. In this clip, I let the camera auto-expose. It ended up going for average scene brightness, which in essence had the same effect. Viewing angles tend to be the Achilles heel of VA display panels like used in the Samsung, and in this case it's no different. We can see that off-axis viewing, there's a lot of loss in color saturation and contrast. The sweet spot is definitely in front of the QLED, as opposed to the C8, which is a lot more forgiving of whatever seat you may choose. HDR Tone Mapping is one of the key LG technologies. It relies on dynamic tone mapping to map the details of a scene that's brighter than the TV can support natively to one that the TV can properly display while maintaining highlight detail. This is evident in the top of the tent in this clip. You can see that without dynamic tone mapping, there is some clipping in the highlight detail, but once it's enabled, it not only brings back the detail, but it also makes the entire scene brighter. The fact is that both TVs have their pros and cons, so what may be right for you may not be right for someone else. That being said, I think if you watch TV in a brightly lit room, then the QLED may be the better option because it gets so bright it almost laughs in the face of direct sunlight. If you have controlled lighting on the other hand, then the OLED will shine, especially when the lights go out. You will love how the screen just disappears into the darkness. If you've seen my review of either of these TVs, then you'll know that they're both great performers. Personally, I prefer the picture of the OLED in this room, but I absolutely loved Samsung's Tizen OS. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video useful, hit that like button, and don't forget to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you didn't like the video, let me know why in the comments below also. Until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood Villaman saying, peace.